So as an IT professional, you're faced with a couple of challenges when you're trying to select a security product. There are literally tons of products to choose from, so much so that it's easy to make the wrong choice and not know if you've bought the right product for you or a subpar product, and that's leaving you exposed. The threat landscape really has become a lot more complex and difficult for end users to really evaluate the quality of the products that they're purchasing. Assessing the performance is not as big of a deal, but the complexity of the attacks has really skyrocketed over the last couple of years. And so you can end up, overpaying for a solution that is underperforming. And there's a number of reasons for that. One, as a buyer, it's hard to find accurate, actionable information that you can trust. A lot of times we ask friends how they like their products and what your experience was, but that tends to be anecdotal. If you're working with different vendors, we all know they tend to present the best case scenarios, and you won't necessarily find out the shortcomings of products on data sheets or from the sales reps. And so you're left to kind of fend for yourself. And magazines have been hit pretty hard the last couple of years, so a lot of them have actually stopped testing altogether. Industry analysts don't test at all. And that's actually a little-known fact. Some folks read the analyst reports and have been mistakenly believing that they're actually testing the products, which you really need to look closely at. Things like magic quadrants and market scopes and waves and things like that. You need to look at real test data, and there's specific types of test data and test methodologies that make more sense than others. And then the ultimate truism is that as an IT person, I know I was one for a long time. It takes a lot of resources to do things properly, and that's one thing that in IT we're always short of: time and resources because of competing projects. So it's hard enough to create a short list, let alone actually go through and run a test of some products in your own organization. And that's one of the things that we specialize in. So what I've got here is I figured I would base a lot of this conversation around the findings from our most recent network IPS group test, which we performed in December. And here are the products that were included in it. 7 different vendors participated, and we submitted products and configured them to go through our test. And the slides that you'll be seeing with graphs and charts will be anonymized because that's the data that we sell to our subscribers, but it'll be instructive to refer to in terms of making the points of what you as buyers should be looking for to make sure you get a good solution and help you understand the questions to ask your vendors. So first off, you really need to define your criteria. Understand what your needs are. Why are you purchasing an IPS in the first place? Well, it's to prevent your valuable information from being stolen. So you need to know which information. And of course, there's denial of service attacks and other things, but anymore the primary objective of an attacker is to get a hold of your information. So you need to know where your critical data is located. Is it on a couple servers? Is it distributed across multiple regions? Is it living on PCs or laptops? Next, you really need to understand which systems and vulnerabilities are putting your data at risk. What do you need to be protecting? Which Windows versions? Which applications? Is it Microsoft Office? Is it different browsers? Which plugins? Which databases? And of course, there's bandwidth requirements when we're talking about the network as well. And then you need to ask which security products are best suited to protect against those vulnerabilities. And really going beyond simply saying, well, which is the best product overall? Because there are products that score very well in protecting against data center type applications, but don't do a great job at protecting the clients from web surfing and going to malicious websites, and vice versa. And there's always trade-offs. We've seen vendors bring equipment into our labs that they say, this is only for the data center. We haven't designed it for the perimeter protection. And that's an important thing for you as a buyer to know. because different products have strengths and weaknesses. And really try and focus in on that as opposed to being led down a really long list of nice-to-haves. Really try and keep in mind that the number one reason you're buying this product is for protection. So it's really important that you evaluate the security effectiveness. And there, just as a note here, some people refer to performance of a product as how good it is at stopping attacks. In our lingo, security effectiveness is just that. Performance refers to throughput, megabits per second, and traffic, things of that nature. So with so many products to choose from, it's important that you look at security effectiveness because the effectiveness varies quite widely. In our recent test, we found the average of default configurations was 45% protection, which is not great, but that needs to be taken into context because not all tests are equal. You might be familiar with other certifications or tests that have been done or something you've read in a magazine. You need to really look at what that means. There are other organizations that are doing testing on 120 exploits. And 120 is very small. Just to give you an idea, over the past 5 years, there are currently over 14,000 high and critical vulnerabilities in circulation, according to CVSS scores. That's quite a few, right? And you won't have all of those in your organization, but you'll have a certain percentage that you need to start thinking about relative to where your critical data is. And so what we're trying to do at NSS is really bring to bear exploits against vulnerabilities that target critical enterprise applications. And in general, we've got a pretty broad coverage because of our expertise here, over 1,200 that are currently in our test set. This one's a little bit dated. We're approaching about 2,000 right now. So it's important that these tests that you're looking at, that you know how rigorous they are, because you don't want to compare apples to oranges.